Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Marin Local Agency Formation Commission
Recording in progress.
meeting. It is December 12th, and it is 6:30 p.m., and we are at Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Meeting Room, Suite 335, 1600 Los Gamos Drive, San Rafael, and we're open for business. And this meeting is a hybrid meeting, so we also may have folks on Zoom. So, Madam Clerk, would you like to call to order and a roll call?
Commissioner Kohler,
I'm here.
Commissioner Rodoni,
My mic's not working, sorry.
Here, let's share.
Thank you.
We got it.
Here, thanks.
Commissioner Caius,
Here.
Commissioner Lucan, Commissioner Murray. Oh. Commissioner Bordeaux, Commissioner Chu,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Hilliard,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Smith.
I'm here. There's.
And we have met quorum.
Okay, just a reminder for folks, this meeting is being recorded, so even though we can hear you in the room, you need to speak into the mics when they're on. Okay. Did anyone want to rearrange the agenda? Seeing none? This is the time for public open time. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda. All statements that require a response will be referred to staff for replying in writing or will be placed on the commission's agenda for consideration at a later meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone that would like to speak at open time?
Madam Chair, we have no public comment cards and there's no one online.
Okay, we will close public open time. Next item is the consent calendar. All items calendars as consent are considered ministerial or non-substantive and subject to a single motion approval. The chair or designee will also consider requests from the commission to pull an item for discussion. Did anyone want to pull anything from consent? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none in the room, is there any on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar.
Move consent. I'll second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, are we doing a roll call vote or can
You
we?
don't need to do a roll call vote because all members are present in the room. You can just do by consent.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that matter passes. All right, moving on to public hearings. First public hearing is approval of Resolution 2410, annexation of 335 Highland Avenue, San Rafael, parcel 015-24112 into San Rafael Sanitary District, LAFCo file 1386 with waiver of notice, hearing, protest proceedings, and finding it exempt from CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, section 15319. Who's doing the staff report? Is this our clerk?
Yeah, our clerk will be doing it. We do have a representative of the applicant here as well.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, so this application's pretty straightforward. It's one fully developed parcel in unincorporated neighborhood of San Rafael Country Club, wishing to annex into San Rafael Sanitation District to receive sanitary services. We sent out the proposal to all agencies and received consent from all necessary, if not, no response at all. I wanted to note that in the resolution, in the second whereas clause, there's a typo. It is into San Rafael and the acreage is 1.52. So if you choose to go with SAC recommendation 1, we ask that you do it with those necessary changes.
Okay, would the applicant like to make a few comments, or do you want to wait and see if there's any questions? Okay, turn on your mic, please.
I want to wait.
Okay, are there any questions of staff or for the applicant? And sir, would you introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, my name is Eris Kalanakis and I'm representative of Ben Franklin Plumbing.
Thank you. Any questions of? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see you. I had my way. Okay, Commissioner Murray. Your mic is not on. Please turn it on.
Thank you. Junior analyst, thank you very much. Good report. Just curious, the last page has kind of a dialogue summary. Can you explain to us the detail there and what that's for?
Thank you for pointing that out. So because of the location of this application, we are asking for a delayed dual annexation. And so we have received consent from the property owner that he is okay with if the time is ever to come to enter into the city.
Okay, yeah, it's actually this,
Blue and
this,
white list.
this one, yeah.
The application checklist. This is a checklist that just goes over all of CEQA and anything that would happen, and it pertains more to if they're developing the parcel, which they're not. It's just one developed parcel looking to get on sanitary, so there's no concerns when it comes to most items on this checklist.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, alternate Commissioner Smith. I'm sorry, I was trying to get the alternate out.
That's okay. I have a question about the section 6 and the related requirement that the applicant not protest any future application for annexation. What does that have to do with this?
So CKH, which guides what we're supposed to be doing,
CKH
a
being.
Cortese Knox Hertzberg Local Government Act of 2000, CKH for short, sorry.
That's okay.
I always should explain it the first time I say it. Thank you for catching me on that. The state wants us to be annexing in when something's in an unincorporated island. We should be trying to annex it in when it's getting additional services. The reality is this is in a very large unincorporated area. This is in the middle of that unincorporated area. So it becomes an disorganized thing if you were to take one little piece and say this is now part of the city when everything around it is not, and then around that is part of the city. It's like a donut hole within a donut hole type situation. And so what we have done and the policy that we've had for a very long time with Marin LAFCo is when these situations come up where there is a single parcel in a larger unincorporated island, we're not going to take that one parcel and annex it into the city, but rather if in the future we ever want to annex in the country club area, this property owner is saying they will not object to us doing that as part of the approval to get the sanitary services from San Rafael Sanitary District.
Don't you think that's sort of an abrogation of the citizen's right to protest something in the future that's completely unrelated to this action?
This
I
is
don't
what
thi-
the state government.
I'm familiar with the neighborhood because I live there also, and I've lived in Sleepy Hollow, which is another large unincorporated area. I think, if somebody wants to be connected to the sewer district, that makes total sense, but they shouldn't give up their right to protest something in the future of which they know nothing about at this time and maybe they may not like the zoning laws of San Rafael. It could be something completely unrelated.
State government code tells us we should actually be annexing them in today, and we're not. So
Well, but
we're trying
not,
to be,
and we're not.
we're,
So-
we're trying to be a little more organized in doing this. And this is a way that LAFCOs across the state handle situations like this, is to do this very same action. This is not uncommon for us. This is how it is done by LAFCOs.
That may be true, but I think this requirement, and the citizen has no choice at this point, either this or they don't get accepted into the sewer district. So I frankly would suggest I suggest that condition be removed.
Thank you. We'll note that for the record. Any more questions of staff or the applicant? I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone on Zoom since?
We have no one on Zoom.
Okay, let's bring it back. I'd like a potential motion. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna try and help first, maybe with Roger. We only really have two choices here, annex for our policies, state law and policies, is annex them into the city now or get them to agree to join it later, which is our policy. So you can vote no on this. And,
Voting.
oh, okay. Anyway, you could vote no on this if you wanted, but we'd have to change our policy before we can make any exceptions, in my mind. So just I hope that helps. And I'll move this item if that's helpful.
Friendly amendment, just with the
Yeah.
changes noted.
Thank you.
Would somebody like, I love this. Would somebody like to second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So that was Vice Chair Rodoni, Commissioner Murray, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that matter passes, and I forgot to close the public hearing. Okay, moving on. I'm just going to move this for a sec. Moving on to item 5, and this is approval of resolution 2411, annexation of 26 Highland Avenue, San Rafael, parcel 016-02164 into San Rafael Sanitary District, LAFCo file 1387, with waiver of notice, hearing, and protest proceedings, and finding exempt from CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, section 15319. Madam Clerk, are you doing the staff report?
So this is 335 Highlands Neighbor, and it's exactly the same one developed unincorporated property in San Rafael Country Club, wishing to get onto San Rafael Sanitary District. We received consent from the Sanitary District and received several consent forms, if not nothing back. Same as the last application, there's a delayed dual annexation. And we asked that in the second whereas clause that you note that it's 1.52 acre, or 1.49 acres in its San Rafael Country Club,
San Rafael Sanitary.
San Rafael Sanitation District.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of staff or the applicant? Seeing none, I'd like to open the public hearing.
There are no public members online.
Okay, bringing it back and close the public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion with the changes as noted? Is your mic on?
Blind, I can't tell, so I'll try it the other
There you
way.
go.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, so that was, thank you. Commissioner Berto and second Commissioner Murray, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, thank you very much for attending, and, oh, we get our own mic.
Feel that mic so you guys have another mic up here since one's not working.
Okay, thank you. That matter passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to probably the most exciting item of the night, which is presentation of the Central Marin Wastewater Municipal Service Review Public Draft. This is a hearing for the commission to review and make recommendations. The hearing will be continued to the next meeting, and Deputy Executive Officer, I don't know how to pronounce your
You're not alone. Batchelder Seibel.
Batchelder Seibel.
Yes.
All right. Would you like to do the staff report?
I would be honored. All right. So the Central Marin Wastewater Municipal Service Reviews public draft was released to the public on Wednesday, November 20th. As this was the final MSR in this cycle, we really made a mad dash to try to ensure that it got completed and reviewed prior to the end of this calendar year, and we're able to complete this while maintaining the same level of agency collaboration that we typically extend to all the agencies involved. I want to give some major kudos to Claire for her work on the formatting and remediation of this document on a really tight timeline. She turned that around really quickly to make sure that we were able to hit our deadline to get this out for it to be heard this evening. Since all commissioners have now been through at least one MSR experience prior to this, this presentation will be pretty straightforward. The Central Marin wastewater MSR technically encompassed a total of 6 agencies, but in some places it will look like 7. We wanted to be very intentional in drawing attention to the reorganization of the Murray Park Sewer Maintenance District that took place between the last time that these agencies were reviewed and this review. So there are mentions of the agency, including one dedicated chapter heading. The agencies that were reviewed in this study are the Las Galinas Valley Sanitary District, the Ross Valley Sanitary District, Sanitary District number 2 of Marin County, San Rafael Sanitation District, San Quentin Village Sewer Maintenance District, and the Central Marin Sanitation Agency, JPA. Here is a quick look at a map of all the agencies' boundaries that were included in the study. Within the study, there was obviously a lot of information provided on many different aspects of the agencies encompassed, and ultimately all of that information is compiled to be able to complete each of the 7 determinations that are required of us by the state. Some of those determinations include recommendations from LAFCo that will require additional efforts moving forward, either on behalf of the agency or of LAFCo staff, or a collaborative effort between the two parties. The following are a brief overview of the recommendations made within this study. Continued exploration of and discussions towards the reorganization of San Quentin Village into Ross Valley Sanitary District. Continued evaluation of potential reorganization and/or consolidation of the agencies within CMSA. San Rafael Sanitation District should add its current rate schedule information to its website. Las Colinas should report to LAFCo as soon as possible on the area outside of its current boundary in the general area of McInnes Park on whether or not the high-use facilities in that area are currently receiving services from the district. Collection agencies throughout the study area should work collaboratively to ensure that their current boundaries match the parcels to whom they are providing service at this time. The commission should establish an SOI for San Quentin Village Sewer Maintenance District. The local land use authorities throughout the study area should work proactively and collaboratively with the wastewater service providers on all potential RHNA development site designations within their updated housing elements. The San Rafael Sanitation District board seat that is held by a member of the Marin County Board of Supervisors should be reserved moving forward for the supervisor of District 1.
Excuse me, do you want to move the slide up?
I would love to.
Thank you.
As San Quentin Village isn't currently being assessed treatment charges, and the Caltrans parcel that is adjacent to San Quentin Village isn't being assessed treatment or collection fees, CMSA and San Quentin Village should work proactively to ensure that all applicable fees are being properly assessed where necessary. And lastly, CMSA should continue to take a proactive role in the feasibility of the production of both recycled water and direct potable reuse in the Ross Valley and San Rafael Creek watersheds. A couple of other items that the commission can expect to see when this item is revisited at the February meeting will be the establishment of an SOI for San Quentin Village with the recommendation that it be established as a zero sphere, as well as a few other SOI amendments to clean up some older SOI determinations that appear to have been missing some important archival data. When we come back in February, you will also see some annexations, reorganizations of parcels in.
No, I got it answered. I got it.
Oh,
So just remember that we try not to use acronyms, and I was going to ask that at the end because not everybody is familiar with these terms.
Will do.
Thank you.
when we come back in February, there will be applications for reorganizations of some parcels between Ross Valley Sanitary District and Sanitary District Number 2 after some extensive work that they did to find who was actually serving which parcels along their boundaries so that we could try to correct those borders. Claire has done a ton of work with that, and we had to kind of sit on those for a while because in order to do that, it also required an update of spheres of influence for both of those. And so since we were in this process for those agencies, we just wanted to bring those all at the same time. The public comment period for this study is currently ongoing and will run through the end of the day on Friday, January 24th. As of this morning, no comments have been received from either agencies involved or any members of the public. We have received comments from one commissioner. And with that, I will turn it back to the commission for discussion.
Okay, any questions of staff? Okay, alternate Commissioner Smith, thank you.
Can you put your list back up? I'm sorry. This is just for my information. I think it was the last item on your list about recycled water. Is that something that LAFCo weighs in on? It just seems to me more of something that would be up to the individual agencies and their jurisdiction.
So I would just say this, and maybe staff can answer this better than me, but part of LAFCO's role in doing this municipal service reviews is to look at efficiencies and where things can work better. So these are recommendations, and maybe I would turn this over to staff to explain a little bit more.
Yes.
And I do understand that there are recommendations that we make, but this one just seemed a little outside the.
We can look at ways that agencies can work better together. And in some places, not in this county, but in other counties, you have water and wastewater districts that are together, and they actually do a very good job of reusing reusing the water because they are completely separate here. What we're recommending is that they work better together to try and figure out if they can duplicate what's been going on in other counties. So it's simply a recommendation. This is not one of those things that like you're going to see staff working on after this thing. It's just more of something to remind them, hey, when you can. And I know that the agencies are doing this. It's just a friendly reminder to continue to find avenues to do it better if we can.
Okay, thanks.
And really, some people look at these municipal service reviews, they're 80 pages or what. What I think staff have done here in trying to really make those really workable. And that's where you see, I think these recommendations are all things that are very good. The agencies can or cannot take them on, but that's our opportunity to really look from the outside and see, can these things work better? So I think that is, Jaren's done a great job. I also liked the way the recommendations were up front. I think in the past they'd be more at the back, and I know they were repeated later on, but I think it really helps to see that up front.
Yeah, I didn't see it number 10 as a bad policy or a bad idea. I mean, I'm totally in favor of it. It's just whether it's something that LAFCo should be recommending.
So what I would just add to that is, just for some added context, CMSA has done a couple now of feasibility studies on this exact thing, with one being pretty recent. So I mean, is this something that they are hoping to work towards? It hasn't gotten there yet, mostly because of money constraints. But it is a desire that they are actively working towards.
Okay, Commissioner Berto, and then we'll have Commissioner Murray next.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Roger was just talking about, because, normally if you're a municipality or special district and you're looking for like, efficiencies or strategic planning, whatever, you're going to hire a group like Citygate to come in and do those things, right? And so, and I'm not like trying to have a philosophical discussion here, but one of the things is that when, I think to the point that Roger's getting at, if you have something in there, and I say this as somebody who works for a public agency, and I know Craig knows this as well, if Citygate does a report, or if the civil grand jury does a report, people are going to hold that up, even depending on, what it is. If they say you need to do, the county could do a better job at this, right? Whether you've seen, Dennis, enough, civil grand jury reports where how deep of a dive did they do and what are they basing off of it, which is very different than like if Citygate came in and did the deep dive. And so my fear is just like keeping it within scope again, is so that people can't come and say, well, LAFCo said, so-and-so should have did this. And so that's a long-winded way of getting to my question, which is, what is the deep dive we do when we're recommending something like that?
Do you want
I think one of the answers I would say is reading the municipal service review, and I'm the commissioner who provided comments, is it really has an explanation of what kind of dive Jaren did. But go ahead, Jaren.
So I would just say a delightful number of hours of reading their feasibility studies. That and a dive into their audits, talking with their staff, seeing if this is something that they, as an agency and a staff, are actually working towards, or if we're just kind of checking a box here and moving it forward. And it seems like, at least in the case of CMSA, like this is an intention that they have, that they would like to broaden to. And again, there are just current restraints at this time that are keeping them from being able to do so.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I can add one of the things to keep in mind with that particular recommendation. Says continue to, which is we're showing that they are doing this work. So if someone from the public comes in and reads our report, they're gonna say, oh, they're already doing this work, and they should continue to do it. So it's this. I would put this would be as a separate thing. If they weren't doing it all, and we said, hey, you should be doing this right now, that would be a slightly different type of scenario. But in this case, we're actually acknowledging what they're doing and saying, please continue to do this.
Right. My point is, like, when Citygate comes in, and Garen, I get the work that you did on this, but I think the way Citygate or a firm that does that takes a very different approach, right? They have people that they subcontract with that are industry experts in those specific industries, whether it be wastewater or whether it be whatever it is, and that's who are leading the projects there. And so that's why I say I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing, what we're doing here. I just want to say let's, be thoughtful about, what level of expertise we bring to the table to make those types of recommendations.
I would also say that Citygate is usually brought in by an agency. They don't do this independently. So
That's my point.
So, I read the entire MSR. I read the details. I know that CMSA has been working on this because it's part of us looking at different ways to provide more water in this Marin County. But Commissioner Murray?
Yeah, so at our Los Colinas Valley Sanitary District board meeting, one of the board members said really like LAFCO to look at, and I thank alternate Commissioner Smith for bringing this one particular item forward on recycled water. So it is about provision of service and good governance and the best way of doing it. Currently, there's producers like Los Colinas, we're a wholesaler, and then you have another district in front as a retailer. And what the request is very similar to Marin Fire Prevention Authority, a JPA. Can there be an agency countywide? And I think they're looking at other locations in California where they're doing this, where there's an agency that does recycled water for all of Marin County. And that would be the ask, and that perhaps that could be folded in the MSR, is looking at others that treat waste, recycled water a little differently in terms of how to perhaps provide it more beneficially and effectively. So that's one of the requests, and I'll be providing comments, and I do have comments on the MSR as well, but just want to respond to that comment.
Okay, thank you. Were there other questions over here? Commissioner or alternate Commissioner Hillier?
I want to thank you all because this is an enormous number of entities with different tasks coming together and trying to make more efficiency. And so I was wondering what the ask is at the end. And I think you just explained it is to, because for example, your Las Colinas has been recycling water for a while and others collect solid waste and some don't. There are cities, counties, and special districts involved in all this. So getting all these entities together, I thought that's the big picture is efficiency, right, on behalf of the citizens. So is the ask to look into, I mean, they're going to start, what is the ask?
There are several asks within there, within this particular one. One of them is, we will always have a position that the CMSA members should, if they can, join together and create one large district rather than having three smaller districts. That is probably better from a perspective of not having CMSA and being a JPA, but rather having all of them be one. Yes, collection treat. Yes,
Okay, so
that's one thing that we suggest. Now, at the end of the day, we're not in the business, or we have chosen, this commission has chosen not to be in the business of forcing things like that. We want to try and get people to work together, and so we will make ourselves available to them if they want to do so. Right now, there are some discussions around sharing staff between CMSA and San Rafael Sanitary District, and hey, that's great. We've got no problems with them sharing staff if they can do so. That's kind of, in my mind, a step in the direction of doing so. Some others in the JPA may not agree that that's the correct way to take the steps, and so it's that's part of it. There's the correcting of boundaries. We were talking about, and we will get into this a lot more at our next meeting, where we have several applications that are going to be coming to you that will be correcting the boundary lines between Puerto Madera Sanitary District Number 2 and Ross Valley, where one is in one district but getting served by the other district, because there are lines that go on both sides of a property, and someone just decided to connect this way rather than connecting that way. And so we're going to be going through and correcting that. That was a multi-year project that those of you who remember Olivia actually started working on. That's how long we've been working on this project to get these things corrected. I mean, these are not easy, simple things to do. These are year-long, multi-year-long projects. And so you're going to be seeing a culmination of a lot of that occurring at our February meeting. So some of these things we're asking for, they've already started to do, and we'll be bringing you some conclusions to parts of it at our next meeting.
And I'll have an opportunity to provide input.
Yeah, any commissioner or any member of the public who wishes to make comment by January 24th is free to do so. We do encourage you. Like we said, we've already gotten one commissioner. I mean, this is recently put out, so I'm not surprised that we haven't gotten more comments yet. We normally give a 30 to 45 day window at least. We gave a little bit longer this time because we're going into the holidays and we didn't want to have people working on this during the holidays. Enjoy your holidays. We gave you a little extra time in January for that reason. So feel free to read it, get our comments, get them to Jaron. He will review all the comments, and we'll come back at our February meeting with here's the final product. And if you have a suggestion, if you don't like one of the recommendations, by all means submit that. And if it's something that changes LAFCO policy, then the commission needs to have a discussion about changing LAFCO policy. If it's something that's like, hey, our agency disagrees with this recommendation, some of our recommendations, to be perfectly blunt, are carry forwards from my predecessor and his predecessor and his predecessor in some cases. So it's like some of these things go several years back. And if the commission wants to say, hey, we're no longer interested in making that recommendation, we can always change what we do. And that's the commission's role to play, is to help decide, do we want to change the direction that we're going in, decide this is no longer of interest to us. I know before the meeting, I was having a discussion with one of the supervisors about, should we be recommending who serves on the San Rafael Sanitary District Board on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, or should that be left open for the board to be making its own decision, which is how it occurs now? Those are the types of things that we can come back at our February meeting and have, do we want to have it in there or not, type of a discussion, and we can take it out or leave it in as the commission sees fit.
I'd like to open the public hearing. So I'd like to open the public hearing. I don't see anyone here.
No one online.
Okay, closing the public hearing, bringing it back. Is there further deliberation? Oh,
Just want to follow up on a
Vice Chair
a
Rodoni.
question and suggestion. On page 49, you're talking about the RENA numbers. The last sentence in the second to last paragraph looks like the numbers may be a little bit odd to me. So I just wanted you to check those. The 1957 happens twice, and I just not sure they would align that well.
Could you say that page number again?
What's that?
Put the word like units after the numbers.
Just,
Anyway.
could you say the page number again?
Yeah, 49. And then related to the RENA, you may have overlooked the County of Marin unincorporated has the Auburn Grove proposal
Mhm.
that's currently been applied for.
Okay.
Of 70 something units, I believe. So that would change this paragraph, and we can send you that information
Yeah,
too
that'd
if
be
you want.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've closed the public hearing. I think we're finished with questions, comments, and encourage folks to provide Jaron comments by January 24th. Probably you want to do that on Christmas or New Year's or Hanukkah, which is the same day. I'm going to continue the hearing to the next meeting as it says in the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to business items. And
There are no business items today.
Okay, we'll move on to the executive officer report.
Okay, as I normally do, I will do a semi-rapid fire. Stop me if you want to ask a question on one. I am going to take one item slightly out of order because it impacts the discussion we're going to have on a different one. I'm going to do Cal LAFCo update first. Since our last meeting, Cal LAFCo had its annual conference. There was quite a bit of a buzz going on there. As I mentioned at the last meeting, there's some trepidation about what's going on within Cal LAFCo. As you will see in the packet, there is a letter from San Bernardino LAFCO to Cal LAFCO saying they are no longer going to be a member of Cal LAFCO come next fiscal year. And San Diego and Orange County have threatened to step out, but they're waiting for a little bit more time, but are acknowledging that they may be doing the same. Just to give a little bit more background on this, at the Cal LAFCo conference, there were 8 board seats up for election. 2 incumbents did not get reelected. Each region elects 2 people. Our region was one of them that did not reelect one of its incumbent members, which is, if you think about it, that's 25% of the incumbents did not get reelected. How many of you have ever heard of 25% of the incumbents not getting reelected to a board?
This happened in Fairfax.
Yeah, but that is a very rare thing that occurs.
It happened 20 years ago too.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But
They flipped the whole council in 2009.
yeah, it does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is a rare occurrence when you have that level of incumbents not getting reelected to their seats. There is going to be a board meeting of Cal LAFCo in January. I forget what the exact date is, but if anyone wants to attend it, it's open to any member of LAFCo to attend. I will be attending it. It's scheduled from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I will probably be doing work in the background as I'm listening in on the meeting. But there is a lot of frustration amongst some of the members. I will say this, I am one of the people who is frustrated with how Cal LAFCO has been operating. I'm hoping that at the conference, they got the message that there's frustration out there. But I may be coming back in February to have a more in-depth discussion with this body as to, is Cal LAFCO the best fit for us in its current condition? I am very concerned that with some of its larger members leaving, San Bernardino, the 3 that are leaving are all what are considered the top tier payers. If they leave, that's a good bit of money that all of a sudden has to trickle down to all the other LAFCOs to pay to make up for the budget loss. And so we need to have a discussion. Are we getting our money's worth? I want to see what happens at this January meeting. Did the board hear the message? Does this newly elected board, because some of them were newly elected, are they understanding that they need to change their ways, or are they going to continue down the path of we're doing everything right, you just don't understand what we're doing approach, which is, to be honest with you, the attitude of some of its board members right now. So I will come back to you with that update at the February meeting. Yes.
Jason, one question about that. Because there is a budgetary implication, and imagine there's numerous considerations as to why we would or wouldn't. Would that be something that the budget committee would ultimately need to meet on, or?
When the budget committee meets, that will be a line item. And that's why I want to have the discussion at February, because between February and April meeting is when the budget committee meets. So us giving them an indication, should we be keeping that line item there, or should we be removing it, has an impact on the budget.
Right on. Thank you.
and what is our current fee that we pay to Cal LAFCo?
I want to say it's just over $4,000 a year.
Okay, so if San Bernardino are already leaving, if Orange County, San Diego leave, I mean, I think that's something when you bring it back, what kind of ramifications that would have.
That's going to be on their agenda at the January meeting, so I will be taking notes on what they're looking at for that. So getting off of that, getting back to the regular agenda items, unless anyone else has questions on Cal LAFCO, is budget. Yes.
So at the conference, I think one of the genesis items was that there's no longer a need to track legislation at the office. The current officers at Cal LAFCo from each of our areas coastal, and we did flip the seat. The word back was that everything is fine. Jason went into detail in terms of other issues, but at least at the conference, that was kind of the harbinger of we should be making some change. So our longtime rep from Contra Costa, I think, was quite surprised that he was voted out, and a new rep serving 2 districts in San Mateo County, who did speak to us at one of our commission meetings early on, Crowley, was elected after the rep from Ventura, Santa Barbara did not receive enough votes and dropped out. So then it's basically the incumbent in this new person running, and she did quite well, spoke well, very educated, and she, I think, is listening. So it bodes well for our coastal area and our special district rep there. But anyway, just want to add that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. So on the budget update, we are under budget, as we tend to be this time of year, which is good. I try and keep ourselves under budget, so we have a little bit left over in case anything does pop up, or we have money left over we can then use it for next year's budget. Current and pending proposals, you had 2 on today's agenda. We have, for those that are aware of the firing range over by San Quentin Prison, that we will be getting an application for that to be annexed into Ross Valley Sanitary District. We're waiting for our map and legal description, and so we should have that hopefully by our February meeting. Also at our February meeting, you will be seeing, as we've already mentioned, several applications dealing with the Ross Valley Sanitary District 2 boundaries and some other corrections to Sanitary District 2. So our February meeting, just as a heads up, is going to be a little bit longer than normal. So please be prepared for that when we do appear for February. Moving on, the Marin LAFCo work plan, you have the agenda in there. The one item I'm going to point out specifically is I'm pulling back a little bit on the lot line adjustment discussion we had last time. Based on what has transpired within Cal LAFCo, they, to be blunt, need to focus on their internal operations before they start dealing with issues like this. So I'm going to pull back on that a little bit. Let Cal LAFCo figure out if we're staying there, and B, if we are getting things back in their house in order before we really start pushing a big project like this, because I don't think it'll be very useful for anybody to try and do it right now. But that'll remain on as a back burner item for later on when things get better there. And then beyond that, at our previous meeting, there was a discussion about the fact that we don't have a physical job description for our deputy executive officer because we kind of promoted him without having it. So I did provide what we did, right, went up and provided. It is in your packet. So now we have that in the future if we ever need to hire directly for that position.
I
We
have
do
a
have that.
question.
Yes.
There's a knowledge of, in the last bullet says computer applications used in city and regional planning, including GIS, which is great. I'm just wondering why we're not adding Microsoft Office, you know.
I can add that in. That's not a problem.
Okay, I mean, I think it's very good. Go ahead, Commissioner Berto. I'm sorry I didn't see you.
Two minor changes. I think it was really well done and really encapsulates well what we want the position to do. But there were two things, and as I've been drafting a few of these lately in my job, I try and stay away from infinites. And so in the under the typical tasks in I think it's the 7th bullet and the 11, 12, in the 12th bullet, the 7th reads, proofreads and edits all official Marin LAFCo documents. And there's a section in the 12th that says, ensures that all GIS information related to Marin LAFCo is accurate and up to date. I think those statements still work if you take all out, and it prevents any, somebody's on vacation, they can't proofread and edit everything. So, I always just stay away from the infinites.
Those are good feedbacks. We can easily make those edits. Not a problem.
Excellent. Other folks have comments or questions? Okay, seeing none.
I had a couple of other just
Oh,
quick
I'm
high-level
sorry.
things. Not a problem. Just want to remind folks that Christmas and New Year's are both on Wednesdays. Those are traditional open office hour days. In order to facilitate that, we are moving our open office hour days. Those weeks have put it on our website and on our door. We will be having open office hours days on December 24th and January 2nd. So we don't have people coming into open office hours days during those two holidays. In addition, wanted to let folks know that we have our special districts are going to be having, Craig's seat is up for its natural cycle. His seat will expire in May of 2025. And so the special districts, I believe tomorrow, the special districts chapter is going to be emailing out all the information to special districts of if anyone wants to run for that seat. Commissioner Murray, if you wish to stay in your seat, you'll have to have your commission appoint you to be nominated for a LAFCO seat, and then we go through the election process if needed. And then in addition, the cities are also going through their selection process. Commissioner Berto needs to go through his. And then we have Commissioner Burke, who has decided not to continue on with us. You saw that resignation letter I've sent around, I believe. So if anyone knows a good city person, whether they're currently a city council member or will become, the next few weeks as those transitions come in place, please encourage them to apply for the alternate seat. I always make myself available. If you know someone who isn't quite sure what LAFCO is and wants to talk to me first, give them my number. I'm happy to talk with them about what LAFCO is and does, so we get someone good into that alternate city seat. They are having their deadline is January 17th to turn in for that seat. And then January 22nd is when they'll have their vote, is when the city selection committee meets and does its voting process. So if you know someone, please encourage them to apply for that seat. There's an official letter of interest you need to submit to Rebecca with MCCMC, and she takes care of all the rest of it after that.
To maybe remind Rebecca to send it out to all council members again, because there were a number of changes in city council seats, and when we announced it, those people weren't there.
Okay, I'll send her a
So,
note tomorrow.
you know,
reminding her.
just, I mean, she's great.
Yeah.
And I think that will be good for new members to consider it. Lots of changes out there.
Okay. And then one final thing just to make you aware of, the Fire Districts Association, which is all the special districts that represent fire agencies, have asked me to come present, be part of a panel on LAFCo and how fire districts can work with LAFCo. It's going to be in Napa at the beginning of April. Don't have the exact date and time yet, but I've been asked if I'd be willing to do it. I told them, of course, I'm happy to come and show up. It's in Napa. So there'll be a day in April when you might not see me around because I'll be there doing that panel. And that is all I have.
Excellent. Any questions of staff? Sorry for interrupting you. Commissioner announcements and requests, are there any? Seeing none? Okay, we are adjourning to the next meeting on February 13th at 6:30 p.m. See you all here. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.